Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Barakathom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the Brother Raya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on thestar.com titled Prospect of Nuclear War, Highest in Decades, Yet Media Ignores. And for anybody out there that still has hopes for a nuclear conflict being averted, don't get your hopes up, because there will be a nuclear-armed World War III where billions of lives will be lost. It's stated in the scriptures to happen, and nothing that man does will avert it from coming to pass. As it says in Isaiah 55:11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, nuclear Armageddon, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So no peace treaties or agreements or anything like that will avert this nuclear conflict from taking place. So for you sincere Akim out there, now more than ever is time to have all 10 toes down in this truth and push this word as hard as you possibly can to make your calling and election sure and be saved from this coming nuclear destruction. But back to the article. I'm as curious as the next person about the Mueller report, Donald Trump's tax returns, and Jody Wilson-Raybould's inner thoughts. But is there really no room amidst all the media chatter for the news that the chances of nuclear war are higher than they've been in generations? That's because we're at the end of the heathen's rulership, chiefly Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And once Esau Edom is taken out of power and this nuclear destruction occurs, then the Israelites, which use so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are going to be put back into power, and our kingdom is going to be forever. We're never going to go down again. That was the frightening assessment the United Nations Security Council received last week from UN Disarmament Chief Izumi Nakamitsu, and it made barely a ripple in the media. For that matter, Trump's decision in February to withdraw from a key nuclear treaty signed amid great hope 32 years ago by Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev was deemed worthy of about 24 hours of news coverage. Even as climate change is finally penetrating the mainstream news cycle, the media has all but lost interest in nuclear war. Commentators rarely find time to remind us that all-out war between the US and Russia, which will occur because it's scriptural. This is Jeremiah 50:9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, which is the biblical name of the United States of America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, and that north country is referring to Russia, and Russia is also referred to in the scriptures as Gog and as the Medes. And that assembly of great nations is referring to not only Russia's allies such as China, Iran, and North Korea, which as I'm sure you've seen in the news, there's a historic meeting taking place between Russia and North Korea right now. But it's also speaking of Babylon, or the United States of America's allies, which will turn against Babylon and ally themselves with this north country of Russia to all shoot their nuclear missiles onto Babylon. And that includes Britain, France, Germany, what have you. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. And these arrows are referring to those nuclear missiles. This is the best way the prophet Jeremiah could describe those nuclear missiles when he saw this vision thousands of years ago. Commentators rarely find time to remind us that all-out nuclear war between the US and Russia, the two most heavily armed nuclear combatants, would be 100,000 times more destructive than Hiroshima. Billions of people would die in raging fires and from radioactive fallout, with the rest of humanity freezing or starving to death in the ensuing nuclear winter. And this brings me to Revelation chapter 8. I'm going to start at verse 7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. Those nuclear missiles and the destruction they cause, and the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. And those third part of trees is referring to people, because in the scriptures people are symbolically referred to as trees, but more specifically it's speaking of you Edomites, or so-called white people, because in the Bible there are three parts, or three sons: the sons of man, which are these other heathen nations such as the so-called Chinese or Moabites, the so-called Japanese or Ammonites, the so-called Arabs or Ishmaelites, so on and so forth. The sons of the righteous, which again are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true children of Israel. And finally, the sons of the wicked, you Edomites, or so-called white people. Wherever you Edomites dwell, a nuclear missile is going to hit that place, but not all Edomites are going to die when this nuclear destruction occurs. The only place where all Edomites are going to perish is in Babylon the Great, again, the United States of America. And also, a lot of you other heathen nations out there are going to feel some of this nuclear heat, because these nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the four corners of the globe and touch down just about everywhere. Verse 8, and the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. So again, anywhere you Edomites dwell, a nuclear missile is going to hit it. Verse 10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters, those nuclear missiles. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. And when we go to that word wormwood in the Strongs, it's
Strong's G894. Obscene theon. Obscene theon.
Wormwood, the name of a star which fell into the waters and made them bitter. That nuclear fallout and radiation that's going to contaminate all the food and water in the vicinity of these nuclear detonations. So anybody that consumes anything within the vicinity of that nuclear fallout is going to get radiation poisoning and die. As it said back in the article, billions of people would die in raging fires and from radioactive fallout, that wormwood making the waters bitter as wormwood, with the rest of humanity freezing or starving to death in the ensuing nuclear winter. Unlike the climate change battle, where a worldwide movement is managing to push the issue onto the political agenda, the fight to rid the world of nuclear weapons has become widely regarded as hopeless, a genie that can't be rebottled, and that genie won't be rebottled, and it is hopeless to think that the world will be rid of nuclear weapons, because again, as it said in Isaiah 55:11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth, it shall not return unto me void. It's stated in the scriptures and in prophecy for there to be a nuclear-armed World War III. Now I'm going to get into some other scriptures to further prove that fact. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1 through 8, a personal favorite of mine when dealing with this coming nuclear destruction. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And this terrible day of great nuclear destruction is nigh at hand, that time of Jacob's trouble. Verse 2, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, Salakia. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And this great people and a strong is referring to those nuclear missiles. And where it says, there have not been ever the like, that's referring to how these nuclear weapons only came about very recently, starting with those atomic bombs during World War II. And where it says, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations, that's referring to the fact that these nations, once this nuclear conflict occurs, they're going to shoot all their missiles. There's not going to be one missile left. And after that, once the Israelites are back in power, we're not going to allow you heathens to make these type of weapons ever again. And we're also going to destroy all your other weapons of war, such as your tanks, assault rifles, grenades, fighter jets, what have you. Verse 3, a fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. That nuclear destruction. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. The land looks pristine and normal, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. That nuclear destruction it leaves behind, turning the land into a wasteland, like that game Fallout or that movie Mad Max. For the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run. Again, just like in Jeremiah 50:9, the prophet is describing these weapons the best way he knew how when he had these visions a long time ago. He didn't know what a nuclear missile was, so he referred to it as a weapon of war, and more specifically weapons of war that existed during his time, such as horsemen and horses and chariots and flying arrows and glittering swords. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pained, all faces shall gather blackness. And when you look up that word blackness, it means ash or soot. Pretty much these people getting burned up in that destruction. They shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Wherever these nuclear missiles are shot, they're going to hit their targets, because the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is going to be on these missiles for them not to miss their targets. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. And that sword is referring to these anti-missile defense systems, which will fail in that day, especially in Babylon the Great. Salakia. And now I'm going to close it out with 2nd Esdras chapter 16, and I'm going to jump around a bit. Woe or destruction unto thee, Babylon, the United States of America, and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Egypt's also another name for the United States of America. Just go to Revelation 11:8. Spiritual Egypt. 2. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair, bewail your children and be sorry, for the destruction is at hand. Again, back in Joel chapter 2 verse 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair, bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. A sword is set upon you, and who may turn it back? Those nuclear missiles. A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void. This nuclear destruction which will not be averted, these people's faces gathering blackness from this fire. And now I'm going to jump down to verse 13. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow, his arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. And how many archers do you know that can shoot arrows to the ends of the world? You don't know any. This is again speaking of those nuclear missiles, that bow being those silos they're shot from, and these arrows being those missiles. And a perfect example is in that movie Terminator 3, at the end scene where it shows these missiles being shot to the four corners of the globe, when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. And here's a quick gif of it. Strong is he that bendeth the bow, and shooteth his arrows to the ends of the world. So again, nothing will happen to avert this nuclear destruction from coming to pass. So just buckle up and hope you're of that elect number to be saved from this coming calamity. So as always, I hope this video was edifying to you, sincere Akim, and I'm going to say Ababa Ball and Kwam Yasharala.